Well, hey everyone, and welcome to the first night of groups for this year. I gotta say, I'm so happy and excited that so many of you have taken the step to join a group. You are choosing to invest in your relationship with Jesus in an important way. Being together in a small group of people who you can journey with, share with, encourage, cry with, laugh with, and celebrate with is an important part of the Christian walk. God designed us to be in community, and the step you've taken to join a group this fall will hopefully send you towards experiencing Christian community in a meaningful way. And tonight, I want you to focus on setting a good foundation for your small group community to grow. So you actually aren't going to spend any time discussing this past week's sermon tonight. I know, disappointing, because that's what you signed up for. You're actually going to get to that next week, but tonight, I want you to talk about your group, how it will function, what is its purpose, and how can you support each other in taking steps closer to Jesus. But before we dive in, let me tell you a little bit about how these videos are going to work every week. The goal of these videos is to help facilitate a discussion in your group surrounding the message that was shared in the worship environment on Sunday. What I'm really hoping happens here is that in your groups, you dive into what the sermon actually means for your lives. We want to take Sunday morning and then come back together in groups to translate the ways God was speaking to us into super practical steps that we can take closer to Jesus. So, when you throw me up on a screen each week and allow me to join your group, I'm going to break down some of what was preached about on Sunday really quickly. You can think of it as like a highlight reel of the sermon. I'll hopefully jog your memory a little bit and get your ideas flowing about what we were talking about during worship that week. And then, a couple of times during the video, I'm going to pause and give you a question to discuss. These questions will vary. Some will be super practical, like, how can we do this thing? Some might be theological, like this idea was presented, do you agree? Or the question might be seeking to get you to apply a certain idea in a practical way. So something like this, Danny talked about this thing, and what does this mean for you this week? You get the idea. And after we've gone through a couple of questions together as a group, I'll turn it over to you and to your group leader, and you will all have a chance to discuss any questions you have to bring forward, any insights that you've had about the topic or from the sermon. Take the conversation wherever you want. You may go a whole different direction. And with that, it's time for our first discussion break. Here's what I want you to discuss. What do you like to do for fun? This is going to help you start to get to know each other a little better. I hope you have a great discussion. Here's the question again. What do you like to do for fun? Well, hey, welcome back. Did you learn anything new about your group? Did anything surprise you? We're going to start each week with a question somewhat like this past one to help build your community within your group. Okay, so on to the topic of discussion for tonight. How are you going to build a successful group together? One of the biggest things that can cause small groups to fail is unclear or unmet expectations. So tonight, I want us to clear this up together. So first, I want you to begin to think about what may be your expectations for your small groups, the things you bring in with you. What are you hoping to get out of this group? What are your expectations of the other people in the group? Do you want them to communicate with you outside of group time? Do you expect everyone to be there all the time? Are you hoping to begin relationships that will last forever? Or are you in it for a short period of time? Do you want to deep dive into scripture together and break out commentaries, or would that freak you out? Maybe your expectations come from experience. Have you been in a small group before? And if yes, then what did it look like? Do you want to repeat that or not? And then there's so many more things that may be expectations for you, but it's important to think through this in your mind for a couple of reasons. The first is that tonight you're starting something new. And if this is a group that's been around for a while or a brand new group, tonight marks the night of a new season and can be a fresh start for your group. So starting tonight, you're building something together. Knowing your expectations can help you to form the group into what is going to be helpful for you. And then here's the second reason. It's important to know your expectations because it can help you get out ahead of conflict that may arise. So, it's time for us to stop for a discussion break once again. You may have guessed the question, but here it is if you haven't. What expectations do you have for this group? Take some time to discuss that together right now. What expectations do you have for this group? All right, well, I hope that was a fruitful discussion and that you were all starting to get an idea of what each other's expectations for the small group are. The second thing that I want to do tonight is for each group to set clear expectations. We've taken some time to discuss our personal expectations for the group to hopefully allow us to get to know where spots where our expectations may be unmet. But now I want you as a group to discuss clear expectations for the way your group will run. You can use some of these expectations from the previous discussion to form this, but now you're going to collaborate and see how you can all mesh together. So things you might need to talk about are super practical things like what material are we going to cover while we're here together? This may already be set up or it might still be up in the air, but discuss that. Discuss what would be helpful for your group as you seek to grow closer to Jesus together. What about timing? Is everyone clear about when and where you'll meet and how often you're going to meet? What about the end time of the meeting? Will you all commit to leaving right away at, say, 8 p.m., or is there room to stay behind and chat for a while? How long will your group last? Will you go forever? Or is this a 2-month commitment, 6 months, a year? And if you're having food, how do you decide who brings what? There's lots of logistical things you could discuss. But then there are also group rules, things like confidentiality. Do you give each other advice, any topics that may be out of bounds, or maybe there is something specific with your group where you need to say, things we discuss here can't come back to our workplace if you have a coworker with you. But what do you need to put in place to make your group a safe spot for discussion and community for everyone in the group? Does this make sense? Like make these things super clear right now off the bat so that everyone knows them. And you can then hold each other accountable and build trust together within these clear boundaries. So I want you to discuss this question. What are our group expectations together? All right, everyone, glad to have you back after what I hope was a meaningful discussion. Do you now have a better idea of what your group will look like? If not, maybe we need to review that last question once more. But before I go for tonight, I want to make one more suggestion. I want you as a group to consider forming something called a group covenant. This would essentially be an agreement between your group members that puts down everything that you just discussed on paper. You could create a document, you could pray over it together, and then all sign it to solidify your commitment to this group and the format that you're going to follow. This is a great way to make sure that everyone is on the same page. I'm going to leave that one with you as individual groups to decide, but I think it's something to consider. Anyway, it's been awesome to be with you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope this has been helpful tonight, and keep the conversation going.